magical life. It was daytime and the light filled everything. I think it was mid-morning. On the country road, apparently, there was nobody besides me. On the dirt road, I engraved the answer. I had made an important decision and I wanted to sculpt it for imperishable memory. I didn't go back to look for this monument on the road, but I never forgot. How could I forget if that furrow in the dust was the beginning of a magical life? Freedom is the magic of life. Or said in another way, in real life there is magic and it is called freedom. Because of this comparison to magic, I feel more justified to tap into the imaginative story of a magician you know. I will talk about it in 3 steps. The last dedicated to the barricades that we can raise with freedom. The second speaks of the magic of freedom. And for the first, I have to start from Augustine. Step 1. We cannot choose if we have not been chosen first. Milan, autumn of 384 AD. Name Augustine, born on 13 November 354, age at the time of facts 30. Place of birth, Tagaste, today Algeria, son of Patricio and Monica. They have another son, Nabija, and a daughter. Profession, rhetorician. Wife and children, unmarried partner. He has a 13-year-old son, Adeodato. When Augustine arrived in Milan, on the age of 30, he was a disillusioned man. He felt a certain reluctance towards Catholicism that his mother, Monica, had taught him, because to him, who was a rhetorician, the biblical texts seemed trivial in their simplicity. He was a consummate teacher of irony, often exaggeratedly pungent, but also very loyal to authors. What helped him to get out of this confusional state? Not diving to work, or taking a trip, or shopping widely, but wondering, who believed in me? Because, as he wrote a few years later, what can we choose if before we were not chosen ourselves? This is the magic of freedom. Knowing that before my choices, someone has already chosen and loved me. It is a liberating magic because it leads to correspond to love with love. If you are thinking about it, I agree with you on the consideration that it's not difficult to choose and love Augustine as well as choose Harry Potter in the famous novel. But for us, normal people, it may seem impossible that someone has chosen us. And maybe we will get discouraged. So let's consider the figure of Neville Longbottom, who is a minor character in the Harry Potter saga and therefore a little closer to us. Neville is a fairly clumsy type. On the train on the first trip to Hogwarts, he lost his sword. A shy boy, clumsy and introverted, who cannot even shine in the studies, always made fun of by everyone because he could not do well any spell and continually reprimanded even by his grandmother, who wanted a grandson worthy of the surname Longbottom. His seems like a loser story, but he was chosen to play a fundamental role in the plot of the novel. When Neville was only 1 year old, his parents were tortured to mad by Death Eaters. Unfortunately, Neville's parents never recovered, spending their life in the famous Mungo hospital. Neville's mother never recognized her son again. Despite this, the mother always gave him candy cards, which her son jealously guarded. So Neville knew he was loved despite everything. Loved despite a difficult relationship with sick parents and very strict grandmother. Only that he was discovering it in a very unique way. It would seem that in many cases the choices that authors make are determined by social position, genetics, intellectual coefficient, etc. Maybe, but isn't the case of Augustine, Harry, and Neville. The fundamental choices that each one makes regarding himself are made according to the answer to the question, who believed in me? Because despite the mistakes, the angularities of the character, and the fixation you can have, those who believe in you will continue to be on your side. They will always choose you, not for what you know how to do or what you have, but for what you are. Those who believe in you think it's nice that this person exists. Step 2. The magic of freedom. Monte San Giovanni Campano Castle, year 1245 AD, named Thomas for a king. Born on year 1225, aged at the time of fact 20 years. Place of birth, Rocca Secca, the Kingdom of Sicily. Son of Landolfo and Theodora, has 4 brothers and 3 sisters. Profession, student at the New Student Generale in Naples, the University of Studies founded by Frederick II. Situation: a year earlier, he entered the Dominical order characterized by study and by a poor, even beggar-like lifestyle. But this decision did not please the mother, so she sent a courier to her children, who at that time were waging war against each other, to go to Naples, capture their brother, and bring it to her. Thomas was held prisoner for 2 years in a family castle, and everyone tried to make him change his mind. During his imprisonment in the castle, on one occasion, they brought a prostitute into his room, which Thomas made to leave immediately. Now I will say something a little complicated. Perhaps someone will think that even if he succumbed to this addiction similar to a giant wave, this would not have been of particular importance in those circumstances. But for Thomas, it was not so. For Thomas, freedom was not meant to have new experiences or to seek what most stimulated him, but it was a freedom that sought a love with which to reciprocate those who loved him. When you want to get a change in a boy, sometimes you resort, speaking in pictures, to lock him in a permeable castle, or in other ways, keep him in his room, frighten him with the threats of teacher or the family. It is more difficult, but much more effective to do it through the love of family and friends. Magically, freedom reaches its fullness just when one chooses to serve. On the contrary, the pretense of absolute freedom, independent of God and others, with nothing to limit it, results in an ego that prostrates itself before money, power, success, or other idols, more or less brilliant, but ephemeral and worthless. This fully successful freedom of those who have chosen to serve is ratified by the attraction it exerts on others. In the way Harry, Hermione, and Neville live freedom, there is something of the style of the Weasley house. There, you live a freedom that privileges what is needed for the family, for society, for the care of nature, which come before what you personally want, even if the price is high. With the passage of time, you can see something of Harry in Neville, when he decides to go with the others to the Ministry of Magic to face Voldemort and the Death Eaters, including Bellatrix Lestrange, who had tortured his parents to madness. Neville engaged more and more in the study, so as to begin to stand out in herbology, suggests that his admiration for Hermione. Neville transforms what did cost him more, or what he does not like to do, into what he wants to do for love, and magically changes what is burdensome in harmonious. Doing things out of love is the secret to doing everything freely, especially serving. Step 3. Barricades cannot be built with freedom. Logroño, Spain, early days of the year 1918. Name José María Escrivá. Born on January 9, 1902. Age at the time of facts 16 years. Place of birth Barbastro, Huesca, Spain. Son of José and María Dolores. Has 4 other sisters, 3 already dead on these dates, and a brother still unborn. Profession: high school student. Situation: the footprints of bare feet on the immaculate snow left by a Carmelite lead him to wonder what he has done similar in his 16 years of life. The only big thing that he had was his future, his life, and he gave it forever to God. José María did not oppose a refusal to the life that he had received, excusing himself with a life program previously decided, or said in his own words, he did not build a barricade with his freedom. He simply said yes to what God proposed and changed his life plan, not without personal and family sacrifices. Every now and then one takes stock of one's life. It is a time when the barricades make a bad impression. Better to know it in advance and not to raise them, especially with freedom. A great aid comes from the use of confession. Give it a go. But let's get back to serious things. Harry Potter, after his alleged death, will find himself with Albus Dumbledore in the afterlife. He tells Harry several things he had never told him when he was alive, and concludes by saying that he is free to die and stay in that place of peace or to continue living. Harry Potter is dead, proclaims Voldemort at that moment, leaving the fighters the choice between joining him or dying. Freedom does not only manifest itself in dying for friends, but seeing that his friend Harry sacrificed his life to make his friends live free causes Neville to decide to follow this example, and with great courage he openly challenged Voldemort. Knowing that friends continue to be on his side even if they believe him dead, magically changes life or restores Harry's life. He is free to die or to continue living and chooses to face life. It is when one believes that he is useless and only sees on oneself in the way that life loses meaning. So when everything seems to be lost, the free and courageous choice of few people magically marks a new beginning. There will be another generation of magicians, a new society founded on friendship and loyalty, and no longer on power and fear, in which everyone will freely choose to serve others for love, also willing to give their life, like Jesus, who having loved his disciples, loved them to them and died for us.